Well, I did run a FTSE 250 company.
Yeah. Which one did you run?
Something called Colin Stewart Tullett. Terry Smith, Fund Smith, are you familiar with him? Who wrote the book called Accounting for Growth when he was at S.J. Warburg. And it was a big hoo-ha. It was a real scandal.
It was the top 10 ways of fiddling your accounts.
Yes,
like
and basically
depreciation,
exposing.
and
So he was the chief exec and I was his finance director. So,
but the name of the company, is that a merger or something?
It was Colin Stewart, which was Andy Stewart and Lee Collins.
And Tullett's is Derek Tullett?
Yes, we did a reverse takeover and we took them over.
Yeah, because he was originally Tullett's of Tokyo.
Yes, he was, yeah.
And then they got hoovered up by other brokerages, didn't
they all went, so then they went to Tullett's. So we took over Tullett's and then I resigned in the acquisition of Prebon.
Because I was on a board with Derek Tullett like maybe 15, 20 years
Which
ago.
Which company?
It was a company called Bet Brokers PLC.
Okay, yeah.
And it had Eddie Jordan of Formula One fame on the board. And it had another lad who was like more sort of like aluminium and copper metals trading experience.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like non-execs trying to add some semblance of normality. Yeah. And I remember it really fondly because Derek had obviously done very, very well.
Yes, yeah.
And then Eddie was Eddie, and his bit of advice to me was, "You've only got £500 left in your pocket." He said, "Buy yourself a good suit." He said, "You can go a long way with a good suit and a bit of chat." And look at him. Well, not now, but
no,
passed away, didn't he? Was it last year?
Yeah, not long ago.
Last year, I think it was.
Did you have much experience with Eddie? Did you meet him?
No, I never met him because he wasn't involved in Tullett's.
Right, okay.
There was a lot of characters. I had Terry was the very interesting person, but he runs Fundsmith now. So if you look at Fundsmith, that's huge, and he's still very much out there. And he must be 73, 74 now. I was a lot younger than all of them.
Still involved and still.
Yeah, very much. He lives.
Because Colin Stewart was like quite a big nomad type. Doing all sorts of things.
Yeah. I was there from the very beginning. So we were 9 people.
This is good content, everyone, right? Right.
Yeah, it's rolling.
Oh, it's rolling now.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't realise that.
I'll watch what I say.
Because you can kind of edit it.
No, it's all on no names basis. It's always interesting to know people's backgrounds because I didn't mean that in a patronising way. It's just that people who actually get it, like it's not every customer at any cost. It's the right customer at the right price that's right for you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just chase forever.
Absolutely. And you don't need to. Certainly, you've got a big growing business. Yeah. I've got a business that actually I can afford to grow slowly. I don't want to rush to grow it. So I want the right clients and I will take my time and keep the reputation very high. So it's a little bit, so it's just a bit, and I'm very fortunate that I'm not actually, I don't need it.
Yeah, for our sake, it's like, because everybody thinks they're an accountant because of the friend in the pub told them about what you do on the VAT return. And as a result, there's been a sort of a tendency to almost like chase to the bottom. It's become bookkeeping and other services have become almost commoditised.
Yeah.
And therefore there is virtually no value being added. That's all production.
Yeah.
And what we've tried to do is move the production to as automated as possible or elsewhere. And then the value added is the bit where we try and step in and deal with tax planning or restructuring is the thing that's coming along a lot.
And making a difference. I will actually need to speak to you, because we are looking to expand actually quite very soon.
But you are a qualified accountant.
I am a qualified accountant. I've lost my qualified. I didn't carry it on because I knew I'd never do it again. But I started.
Did you qualify in industry?
I did AC. In industry. So when I was running a big team, so I was running. So what I used to run at Colin Stewart was everything that wasn't front office. So
you're an operations director.
Absolutely everything. So and the finance. So I had to literally go do my revision courses. I'd literally go into work first, then go off to Borough, I think it was, ring up, go back after the end of the day. So most people just rocking up, studying, going home. I was running a team, running all of that and still doing it. So
was that you that encouraged yourself to do it, or did it help the role? What?
When I left, I didn't go to university, so it was always a thing for me that I didn't go. So when I went, I always wanted to be an accountant.
Well, not all of us did we?
I didn't go.
No.
I didn't do uni. I did the AAT onto chartered route.
Did you?
Okay. Because Mark's like yourself, somebody who unbelievably always wanted to be an accountant, right? Whereas I still haven't worked out what I want to be when I grow up, But I've always been jealous. I've been jealous of people who want to be a doctor or a vet or whatever it is, because then your path is clear, right? You know that there's my target.
And you've got a passion. So
and Mark had that from 15, 16?
Yeah, about 16. After GCSEs, I thought, that's what I wanted to do. How do I do it? So then I went and did the A-levels around accountancy because my dad had a business and I'd seen him raise invoices and stuff like that, and he'd always go with this bag of receipts to an accountant and then get this bill, and I always thought it was not a magical place, but how does it work? And then and that's what I went down that route then, and then worked at some of the big firms and did AAT.
Okay.
But then audit as well. So we were speaking to a fellow auditor yesterday
who'd come all the way from Sheffield from the ICAW to audit us.
Oh, really?
And to slap our wrists.
Well, it was the other way around. So I've always gone into company back in the day, and auditing them, and feeling like they're not too pleased to have us here.
Yeah, no.
And we went through it to a degree yesterday where someone was in looking at our records and.
Well, you can't help it.
You can't help it.
We had the same with regulators. They come in. That was just a huge. That was just a huge issue for the company when it happened.
Yeah, when I was at Bank of Montreal for a brief stint, at those days you had dual regulators. So the branch of the bank from Canada was regulated by the Bank of England. So you had to walk through the front door with the man with the top hat and drink cups of tea out of China. And then the FCA was the sort of broker-dealer regulator. Yeah. And that was all when they could be bothered. And you might have to pop down to Canary Wharf once in a while and show them a couple of reports which they filed, and that was it. It was so different. It was like these dual regulators, and hence so much fell in the gaps. And, well, we've got a litany, haven't we, of financial crises in this country. And I wonder, just all you've got to do is predict what the next one's going to be, because it's going to come.
Work it out.
How did you progress on from your career there?
So I went. So basically, I started as an A-level trainee. So I really started sort of the lowest of the low, and then at Singer and Friedlander, the parent company of Colin Stewart, and then I moved to their finance. Well, actually, I moved to their back office when they started up. So the stockbrokers started up. I literally learned everything about stockbroking, knew nothing, and then I moved to the finance department within Singer and Friedlander. Then I did all my accounts, and I think I was about 2 years through, the subsidiary, which was Colin Stewart, wanted me to work direct. So then I worked direct, finished off all my exams, and when I finished my exams, I then became the FD of the subsidiary. And then I think it was probably only about a year later we did the management buyout.
Okay.
Which was a big deal. We literally, I remember I was actually recounting this, that I literally knew nothing of I didn't even know what an MBO was at this point. I literally walked into a room and I was in charge, and there was about 30 advisors in the room, and I'm thinking, oh my word, I'm in charge of all this, and I have no idea. But anyway, it went well. There was a few other things.
How long ago would that have been then?
That was in 2000 and... When was that? That was in 2001, I think. 2001. 25, or maybe 2000 actually, because it's 25 years ago.
So that was the MBO?
Yeah, that was the MBO. Then we did a float 6 months later.
Well, like an IPO? Or
an IPO.
Full listing? Or?
Yeah, full listing. So, full listing.
Wow. That's 6 months of your life, isn't it?
Yeah, there was about a year where I had no life. I think I managed about 1 week just to get away for a few days. And luckily it was in the days when you didn't have mobiles. And I took a great big solid, those kind of, I don't know if you remember them, but the really big old phones that you would take away, the satellite phones. And I was so happy because it didn't actually work when I was away. So I managed a whole week with no interruptions. But so then I did.
Who would you have worked with? Because you'd have normally had to have a firm of accountants, like a legal firm involved, a financial PR company, a nomad, a sponsoring broker.
Yeah, we had all of those. So we had Deloitte and Touche were our advisors. We used, I can't think of all the, SJ Berwin did our MBO, but I don't think they did they might have done the float, I can't remember if they did that. We had HSBC were our sponsors, the bank behind us.
Steep learning curve to be thrown into that.
Yeah, actually it was interesting. I only found out afterwards, which I didn't know at the time, that the advisors didn't want me to carry on as the FD at the time of the float because I had no experience. They didn't know me. They had no knowledge of me. And actually, I have to give full credit to two of the directors, and they said, we're not using you if she doesn't stay on board. So what the solution was I didn't know all of this till much later, was to get on board a very good company secretary, which I have to say she was fantastic. And so it actually worked in my favour, but I did need that. I mean, I'd gone from school to suddenly having a FTSE 250 come. Well,
that's interesting to hear you say that, because there's a couple of people in our firm who are often, putting the thumbs up for good company secretarial, for being legally astute, knowing the rules, knowing the rule book, because obviously when you're listing, you've got the ultimate rule book.
Absolutely.
There, haven't you?
And so you've done it as well, right?
Well, I did the poor version. I joined the company in 2003 as a group finance director.
Yeah.
And we had a looking to list within 5 years in support services. And we actually got an IPO done in 2005, so we were like 3 years early.
Yeah.
And then you sort of went on a little bit of a mini acquisition trail. But I was there for about 4 years. But that was AIM, and that was using the usual suspects, as we say.
Yeah, we had a corporate finance department, dealt a lot with AIM companies. So and we did a lot of trading, and we run books, we did market making in a lot of AIM companies as well.
Yeah, I mean that was a bit of an eye opener. The biggest eye opener for me was when you had the Nomad and their in-house broker, who was a sector specialist, writing research on you as a company, and all their models and their forecasts and all this. And then when it dawns on you that it isn't really anything to do with quantitative science, they're just asking you to go higher or lower. And if you're going to go plus or minus 10%, let us know sometime, And, it kind of took the whole magic away. And it's just realised that everybody ultimately was just a salesman or woman.
Yeah. I mean, we had a product called Quest, which is still around. Was used. So, and actually I was quite familiar with that. So Quest was actually made Colin Stewart a little bit different. So we had this independent sort of research model that they used a lot, and as I say, it still exists and they still use it. That's sort of, I don't know the team now. They've been, because once we took over Tullet and Prebon, or Tullet in Tokyo, and then we did another acquisition of Prebon. So we basically went from a sort of small float, and then it was a reverse takeover, and we were FTSE 250 quite quickly.
Yeah, well, none of those companies were small, were they?
No. And I left in the perspectives of Prebon, so I did the deal for them, did all the sort of work behind the scenes, and then I left and disappeared.
When you were doing reverse takeovers, did you actually do your own sort of financial due diligence, or did you outsource a lot of it?
No, we outsourced it. Yeah, so we didn't have enough. You don't have the capacity or the expertise. So no, But then they reported into me. So then I'd have all the reports, and then So this company secretary, she was fantastic. So she also helped because she's also finance trained as well. So it was actually, we were a great team, but it worked really well. And I'm quite good.
What was your team? How big was your team at that time?
Oh, not very big. In terms of finance, there was probably only about 6 or 7 of us. And that we did all of the sort of all the accounting and there were subsidiaries as well. So we had already, before we did our float, we already had a substantial business in the Channel Islands. So it was quite a big business over there. We had another sort of private clients business. So it was quite. I mean, it's back in the day now. I left 20 years ago, so it does.
No,
feel,
but you're still smiling about it. Obviously fond memories.
And I had a great team because obviously as well I had the operations. So I had all the operations, all IT, all human resources. Everyone reported into me, and I had some. I wouldn't have succeeded if I hadn't have had such a great team behind me, to be honest.
And did you build that team yourself?
Yes, sort of. Because when we came from Singer and Friedlander, they had some really good people there, and they sort of worked them in, but we worked as a team. So I sort of brought them in, but they were in the sort of within Singer and Friedlander, so we managed to move them. But yeah,
it was very weird because it's like you say, you got a small, close knit team, kind of all pulling for each other. 1 minute, so on the Friday you're looking at accounts payable and your pay run or your payroll, and then the next day you're presenting JP Morgan Asset Management, who are thinking of taking £1 million stake in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's literally from the sort of the pencils right the way up to the
absolutely. And that was probably why I was good at that. It's
great learning, isn't it?
Because I worked in the back office, and I kind of IT wasn't as complicated as it is now. So I'd worked in all of those, so I could actually understand the whole lot. But yes, and then I'd go out and do 2 weeks with Terry Smith, who now runs, as I said earlier. Yeah, so we had to go roadshow, and he was a brilliant presenter, and I'm okay. But it was awful because he was so good, and I had to sort of
roadshows.
It was the same thing. But we had 6 days split by a weekend, 3 and 3. But it was constant, and we did like 35 bits.
Absolutely.
And it was the CEO on the one hand, and the finance director. I prefer to call them the CFO.
Yeah.
On the other, and so you were just sort of tag teaming it, and it was always so much easier because of the pair of you, because the vision, and then do you want some facts, and then more vision, and then by the way it's 3p, and it went back and forward, and it was quite good, and you could literally see people almost ticking on their notes, and then they'd ask one question that would be important to them, and provided you answered them to their face convincingly, they were kind of cool, and we got really, really well subscribed. I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah, we did. No, Terry's absolutely brilliant. He's still on TV quite a lot. You know, he is extremely good. So I was definitely the facts person, and I didn't speak as much, but I was quite happy with that.
It's important though, isn't it? It's really important.
Well, I think people they saw that I was a very straight accountant, so they were kind of like they liked having me. They could really see, And Terry and I did work well. I mean, he was quite a tricky individual to work with. He expects a lot, demands a lot, but me and him got on fine.
Did you ever have any significant differences of opinion?
Just the once we had once, and I don't normally put my foot down, but I was, and actually probably in hindsight I was probably wrong.
I was going to ask you who left.
No, but I think that was the only time. But apart from that, really, we didn't. I'm not really that argumentative. I have other ways of getting what I want achieved rather than going in hard. He was a different character to me.
Nice.
Well, maybe we'll hear about that one later.
Yeah.
And where did you go after that? What was the next?
Travelling for 2.5 years.
Okay. Nice.
So me and my ex-husband, we didn't go off for 2.5 years and not come back. We would go off for 6 weeks or 3 months, come back, go off again. So we've literally...
Well, check the children were okay. So.
Well, we didn't have any then. That was the plan, was that would make the most of life. You never know what's around the corner. Let's go around, let's go travelling now. So we literally visited every continent at the time.
How many children do you have?
2.
And they're now fairly grown up?
Late teens. Late teens. So, I've got
They're just working out what they want to do?
Yeah, my daughter, I mean, they're very bright. My daughter's particularly bright. My ex is very, very good at maths, and she is exceptionally good at maths. She's literally just at the moment doing her A-level in year 12 in maths, and then she'll do further maths next year. She's super bright, and she'll go off and she wants to do data science at uni, and
She wants to come and work in a forensic accounting department.
Well, she might do when she's done her degree. She might do.
Well, make sure you leave the numbers.
But she's good.
And travelling, where was the best place you went to, or what did you enjoy the most?
I think for novelty, the Antarctica.
That'd be amazing.
Because I'm never likely to go back, and there was so much
largest
wildlife.
desert.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were very, very lucky that crossing, because you can have there's that 3-day crossing over there.
Yeah.
It can be really, really rough. They have handles all over the ships, literally, and you have to take sickness tablets whether you're poorly or not. And literally, we were so lucky. It was literally still, and we had a great crossing. And then there's only one crossing across you basically go on little ribs, and you have to be really careful because obviously it can be super cold. So if the wind picks up, you can't go, or you have to get back quickly. And there was only once we had to get back quickly. But you would literally sit on the beach with thousands upon thousands of penguins and seals, and it's something I'll never experience again probably.
What was and did you go on those sort of like almost like exploratory boats to get there, like steel hulls and...
Yeah, we were in a Russian icebreaker, so it was quite small. There were actually on that occasion quite a lot of Russians on it. They're not always, but they were all divers, so they were all diving, and there was sort of an orca. There was a pod of orcas that came. They actually got to go out and actually dive and swim with them. It was incredible, and we got to see the footage afterwards.
We're being very, very nosy here, obviously, but you actually... spent how many weeks in Antarctica?
Oh, only about 6 days in Antarctica. It was about...
Was it organised, or did you make it up as you went along?
No, it was organised.
So you had to book onto that ship?
Yeah, because there's one place at that point only 1,000 people would ever been, and you have to be logged, and you have to go, and then your trip is logged. So.
And on your trip, not that I'm thinking of doing it myself, but how many would be in your party?
On an actual rib, there was probably only about 10, and our boat, I think, only had about 40 passengers.
Yeah.
It was a smaller one. I would personally say, it depends what you like, but I really liked that.
Well, a friend of mine from Australia, they were a bit like yourself, wanted to do everything because they'd had unfortunate health scares, both of them, and they thought, you never know, as you said. Yeah. So they've literally been South America, Antarctica, and they sent me a few photos of that. Yeah. And whilst I don't think it necessarily appeals to my wife, who prefers the heat. Yeah. Cut that bit. Right? It definitely appeals to me.
Yeah. I definitely do.
Because my mum's biggest regret was always that she always wanted to go to the Galapagos Islands.
We've done that
because I think it's owned by Ecuador, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, yes it is.
And her partner at the time was always wanting to go, and they said, can we afford it? It's quite a lot of money. And then, they ummed and ahed, and then they both died of cancer. Yeah. And it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's why we went travelling. So we went to the Galapagos, but there's still loads of places we've never been.
Yeah.
And actually, we've been a bit boring with the children. We just sort of went to hotels because we've done that travelling. But now, hopefully, we can. Well, we still, even though we're not together, we still go on holidays together. So it's really nice. Yeah. So we still go away once a year if we can.
It's nice.
And then we still go off and do. But we don't tend to do travelling. But we're trying to do something maybe later this year.
So other sort of places you'd recommend, like office dwellers like us haven't been to?
Well, so we did some fun things like getting the train from China over to Russia. Obviously, Russia, we wouldn't be able to go to now, but we did that. That was but that was interesting. I really liked Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam.
Yeah, well, when we went to Vietnam, we went from Hanoi, which I loved. Down to Ho Chi Minh City, which I was less impressed with, but everything in between. And I didn't realise until afterwards how close we were to China.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was my son that inspired. He'd been out there on a Vespa and travelled around and said, "You've got to try it." Yeah. And he'd actually gone over on the border, and it was all kind of quasi jungle there. Yeah. And then he went into Laos and Cambodia and.
Yeah, Laos was one of our favourites, but that was about 18 years ago, so it will have changed a lot now.
Well, Vietnam, I mean, one of my cousins, he was like the trade envoy or something to Vietnam, and he stayed in a residency down in Ho Chi Minh City. And when you looked at the economies of the world at the time, this was back in 2016, maybe 17, it was like literally the fastest growing economy. Because it's a long, sort of stretched out country, isn't it? They were just putting the railways in, and you could just see it accelerating. But.
Was it easy to switch off from work at that stage?
The first few months, actually probably the first couple of years. What I struggled more with was not working, was not being anyone or perceived to be anyone.
Right.
So it's not that you weren't anyone, and it wasn't that you were particularly anyone when you were working, but there was that perception when you had that role that you were sort of, and
Makes sense. I get that.
So I spent most of my time when we met people going, well, I don't work now, but I did do this. And so I've gone past that now, but it took a long while actually, because it kind of you did lose your identity as much as I was happy not to be working and not to be in that environment. And I escaped at the right time just before everything, it was very difficult.
It's much cooler being an explorer.
Oh, it is. But
than a BO.
The identity. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, no, I do, yeah.
I think
you often talk about who you are based on, weird directors are cubed, or it kind of rolls off the tongue. But if you didn't have that, you go.
Well, don't get me wrong.
But I used to be.
I'm probably going to contradict myself really, but I don't think I'd see that. But I definitely can't imagine stopping. So that's where I'm at. I think it's because I cannot imagine not doing something with some structure and some purpose. You know what I mean? Like, it's great when you go to Vietnam and you go out into the ocean and you get someone carving fruit at your table, but actually it's the coming back that I always look forward to.
That's true. I mean, we do text. And so.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll say 8 hours to go.
The lead. Yeah, that is true. That is true.
I think because in a way it is the coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think as well, you've got a lot of sports players I know that you work with, and I think they have. I know I'm quite good friends with a former world champion, Billy Schwer, and I know that he suffered for many years with that loss of identity of, I was this person and now who am I? What's my role?
You do hear that with sports people quite a lot, especially footballers in particular.
Yeah.
Thousands of people cheering them on, and then all of a sudden, and I've seen that the other way where they are the best left back in their school, borough, and then they go and join a Premier League team and they're fifth.
Yeah.
Fifth choice.
Yeah, fifth choice or whatever it might be. There's an identity that way on the way up. Some people that will thrive you to kick on and be the number one, but others do go the other way.
Yeah.
That's really interesting hearing you say that.
And then
it makes you think about a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, and about some of your clients when they're sort of transitioning, something actually to that extra support or just
you don't
knowledge.
Provide lifestyle coaching on the side, do you?
No, well, I actually technically can coach, but yeah.
So I was talking to it was guy at Titan.
Oh right,
because he effectively is doing okay. He's bought some kind of church or vicarage down in the West Country somewhere where he lives with his partner, but his business is doing fine. It's ticking over. But now he went to Cambridge and did counselling or therapy, trained as a therapist.
Nice.
and now he does the 3 or 4 hours of that day, and he keeps, once a week an eye on his business, and he's now really completely shifted towards that side of things.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic coaching. If you give you a good coach, you can make such a difference to people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was lovely, a lovely guy.
And then you came back, started travelling was done, and then
had kids. Did that, didn't work at all for a while.
Right.
And then I trained as a PT just because I wanted again to do something. I was quite, at that point, I had more time, I was a lot more fit. So I trained as a PT, and then I did something, which you won't go into, but with some Romanian tennis players for a couple of years, and sponsored them and worked with them. That didn't work out, I have to say.
Right.
But that was quite an interesting period. And again, I got to go to sort of various...
What, in terms of... providing financial support?
Yes, both. Actually, all of it. Financial support.
Almost managing a string of tennis players.
Yeah, a couple of them. But
Mark's massiff passion is tennis.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was successful, but it was an interesting,
but then
fun
in
period.
that case, you can call it a hobby.
Yeah. Yes, it was a hobby.
Because it definitely didn't make money.
I did used to play, but not. I was never.
Right.
It was a hobby. I was never particularly good. I'm not. I would never say that I was a good player, but I was okay.
Right, fine. And that fitness journey led you on to?
Well, onto nutrition. So then I started to think more about nutrition. So then I, again, felt that I needed to do something because I hadn't been working, and I felt that I had too much time on my hands and not enough purpose. So then I have had to do an access course because I didn't do science as an A-level. So then I had to do an access course for a year. And then I have literally a month ago finished a 4.5-year part-time degree in nutritional therapy. So it was a 5.5-year route to actually, and I still can't quite believe I actually managed to finish it all.
But you're now a
nutritional therapist.
A BSc?
Yes, BSc. So I got my degree finally that I never...
Congratulations.
So I managed to get it.
What did it feel like when you done it after more than a few years?
I'd have to say it was a bit of an anticlimax because I'm so busy now with what we're doing. It was kind of like, right, fine, tick, then move on. And then we haven't had a graduation yet. So, and because you're doing it remotely.
Who was that? Was that Open University?
It was University of Portsmouth, but the Institute of Optimum Nutrition, who we actually did all the training through. Right. But University of Portsmouth sort of accredited it all. But because of COVID, it all started off that we were doing it remotely, and then they just carried on. So we didn't. And then the last year was a project. So you're working on your dissertation, and you're working.
Which was, come on.
It was on mouth taping and its association with sleep quality.
That's right. Yeah, I've been reading about this.
Yeah, mouth taping.
You probably read her paper.
Well, I haven't. No, it's not. Yeah, no, it's not published. I'm not sure I'm going to let. But I did. It was. I got a good mark for it. But it's really
call
interesting.
You doctor then? Or?
Mouth taping is a very interesting. It's such an easy. It's just such an easy hack, really. But the one I'd definitely recommend is myotape. MYOTAPE, because it goes around the mouth. It doesn't cover the mouth, so you can still open your mouth. You can still, have a sip of water. You can still, clean your teeth, and it's not so. I think when you actually seal your mouth.
The basic theory behind myotape?
Myotape is it's forcing you to breathe through your nose. So your nose is how you should breathe. You shouldn't be breathing through your mouth. So people who are snoring, sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, you have to be more careful of what you do just before you go into mouth taping. But it also gets your head when you're breathing through your nose, it actually aligns your neck and the air passages, so you're actually breathing better. Also with nitric oxide, that improves those levels because you breathe through your nose, that's where you produce it. So there's so many reasons. And children, again, if you've got a young child that's snoring or making, just close their mouth gently and just stop them. That's what they do in the sort of traditional sort of Aborigines, is they will watch their babies sleeping and then they just gently close their mouth.
I never knew that, actually. I've read about it recently, but
and they do one for beards as well.
Oh, right.
They do, but I actually met Patrick McEwen, who is myotape. It's also Oxygen Advantage. So I don't know if any of your sports players are trying it, but it's quite.
We've had some oxygen tanks.
Well, they've started buying the oxygen.
Oh, well, the H-bots, yeah.
But they're like 80 grand or something.
Yeah. Some of them, you can get smaller ones. Can you? You can, yeah. You can get ones for about $10.
When you're looking for them percentages, the slight differences.
Well, that's the whole point about top-level sport. It's like if you take 0.1%, that might just be the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when there's big cash at the end of it for that difference.
Well, look at the British Olympic team, with be it rowing or cycling or... that's how this.
I'll get onto it with my business now. But one of my clients is a 17-year-old powerlifter who's just gone to just represented Great Britain and came 5th in the world. He was actually the youngest in his category and the lightest, so he's still got another year in that category. And he loves using the device. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But
I was on the phone to someone. Was it yesterday? Was it? Did you tell me?
Who was that?
But it was the champion powerlifter.
No, not
in
me.
the UK.
Wow.
Somebody.
No.
And I was, because we know the person, I'm trying to think who it was. And you'd think, well, he kind of looks just like a regular guy on the street. And it was like, sorry.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like for his age category, I think it was.
Yes.
But he was the number 1 in the UK for powerlifting. Yeah. And I was thinking, you don't really look that.
No.
I said, is it all technique? He's going, well, not really. And it's like more about nutrition and... I wish I could remember who it was.
Yeah,
anyway,
this chap, he's on it. So I, again, will just talk to him through...
But did your A-levels and that didn't set you on this path at all then? Because you've gone the whole financial markets broken with what? A bit of maths and a bit of...
Yeah, a bit of maths. I didn't do too well in my maths A-level, as my children remind me frequently.
but you did like regular A-levels?
Yeah, regular A-levels. And I again, as my children will say, or certainly one of them will say, I was lucky. But actually, I don't think... I mean, you're lucky to be in the right place at the right time. But the piece of advice I got given very early from someone else in the finance department, sort of the parent company, was just make yourself indispensable. Just make yourself indispensable.
Yeah, solid advice.
Well, it's a sort of flip side of never say no.
Yeah, yes.
Isn't it? But then I was advised as a finance director, if you never say no, what's the value of your yes?
Yeah.
So it's that balancing act all the time, isn't it? Especially when you're in theory in charge of the money.
Yes, absolutely. So, but it was just at that early stage that actually it meant that I just work. I'm quite. I mean, no matter what I'm doing, I like to do things well. Yeah. I'm not a perfectionist, but I like to do things well. So I do
be as
always
good
put
as you
everything.
Can be.
Yeah. So as good as, but I don't stress about being
and
absolutely
just prior to starting this remote degree, what were you doing there? Was that after the travelling, or
that was after? Yeah, that was after I'd done my PT, but I wasn't really doing that. I'd kind of felt that was too.
So
and I'd
travel,
finished the tennis,
PT degree, bit of COVID thrown in.
Yeah, and then I was doing my degree all the way through COVID, so it actually gave me something to do.
Yeah, and so, at what point did the new venture?
Well, I started using the device in October 23. So the device is called the Human Regenerator. And
the Human Regenerator, right.
And in May 23, there's a chap in the UK who's called Tim Gray, but it's Tim Biohacker. He runs something called the Health Optimisation Summit. He's a sort of best well-known biohacker in the UK.
Right.
It was his biohack for 23, and it was at this event which I couldn't go to, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and start using it. Yeah. So I started using it in London, and the first time I laid on it, I thought, I really want one of these, but I can't really justify just having one. It just feels a bit frivolous. So, because a reasonable amount of money.
But because of how it made you feel?
Because it made it feel, because of the benefits from it. More the benefits, because I don't particularly have anything wrong with me, which is, it's fantastic because it's recharging, regenerating your cells. So actually, I didn't need to have anything wrong with me. I knew that I fly a reasonable amount, so I have a lot of oxidative stress from flying. So I know that this is... what the bed, one of the many benefits of the bed is to actually reduce oxidative stress.
Is it a bed horizontal or is it a bed standing up?
No, it's a bed horizontal. So, well, I'm sure you can put a photo in, but yes, it's literally, it's just a bed. It's about 3 meters long, and it's white cushioned, and you just lay on it, and underneath the cushioning, but there's sort of gaps in between the cushions, are jets. So these are painted jets, and what these do is produce cold atmospheric plasma. And that plasma plasma's been used on the surface of the skin since the 70s in dermatology. So they've been able to use it in a very sort of like a pen. But this is the first...
for healing or for burns treatments?
No, for healing and for sort of dermatology and skin issues. Because it does accelerate healing. So what as a German company... They have devised this bed, and it's a full body recharger. So it's the first one, and these jets are painted it, so that that's where they can keep this device pretty unique. And there's 2 magnets at the end of either end of it, and it causes static energy. So that's basically transporting these ions around the body and the electrons. So your electrons are what help balance your cells. So when your cells get damaged, you use an electron. The bed is providing spare electrons. If you're either of you are familiar with something called grounding, where you put your feet on the ground.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Mark's christening was at the weekend.
Yeah.
And we were talking about alternative healings, and one of them, and I said, well, the one thing I'd heard was about having your feet in contact with the earth, right? And then that's how the whole thing about sound bathing came up. And it's like, but this thing sounds like different level. This sounds like proper science, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, no, it is proper science. I mean, it is, it's...
But am I hearing it right? Like plasma... jets.
Yeah, so they're just, it feels like air. So it's literally, plasma is the fourth state of matter. And they've managed to, I have no idea how, because that's, it's obviously their secrets, but they literally, it just pulls the oxygen from around the room and it just creates the plasma. Plasma comes out with the magnets keeping it in this field. So think of yourself in a snow globe of electrons and anions. So you're laying there. And because the particles are so fine and soft, they can go through the skin and go through into the cells, into the tissues,
because
into
they're molecular
the organs.
level.
Yeah. And it goes. There's also a charge as well. There's a very slight voltage, so it also increases the electrical charge within the body. It increases blood flow and oxygen flow, which is where sports players are very interested, because it is increasing oxygen, it's increasing blood flow. So it's not. We've not had that many sports players ourselves as yet, but I know with other beds, they're working with tennis players.
Well, these are expensive bits of kit, I'm guessing.
They are, yeah.
Are you talking like tens or hundreds of thousands?
First hundreds, yeah. So,
how many is there in the country?
There are just 4.
4, yeah.
Just 4 at the moment. I'm hoping to get the 5th soon, but that's still just not quite ready to announce.
Is this established technology?
Yes.
Or is it cutting edge to the extent that there's uncertainty about it still?
There's no uncertainty about cold atmospheric plasma if you look at medical. So this is not a medical device. Yep. It is a wellness device. But if you look at medical, there is lots of research. You only need to look up CAP, cold atmospheric plasma, and something, and you'll find research on it. But that's not necessarily being used by medicine yet. Yeah. So it's in early stages. But this is just wellness, because it's not an exact amount of electrons or an exact amount of anions, but the anions also help with the mood. So they help increase your dopamine and your serotonin.
Yeah, you said that, yeah.
So we get people come off, they're just so happy when they come off. And I had a client who just finished 6 sessions and he says, I'm just so happy. And he came for energy.
Huh?
And it's lovely. Yeah. Even if people, I've had someone with bipolar, she's only come once, which isn't enough really to have any long-term effects. Really, you need a course. But she came the once because that was what was right for her. And she was having a depression at the time, which was quite rare for her. And I heard in a meetup, actually, I didn't hear, she didn't tell me, announced to everyone that the next day her depression lifted. So I can't guarantee that it's going to carry on. But for her at that time, it was enough to bring her out for depression.
I was just about to say something, and I thought better of it. I thought I could think of another application.
How much?
Well, yes.
How much research had you done before?
Well, loads. If you're going to do 200 grand,
I did it. But then equally, I'm quite.
Oh right. Okay.
I'm one of those people who goes, do you know what? I wanted one anyway, and it has worked.
Not impulsive, but you're decisive.
Yes.
Decisive, yeah.
Decisive. Sometimes I could be a little bit impulsive, but this, obviously it was a lot of money, and I didn't buy it after the first session. I did quite a few before I decided.
So where did you have your first session?
In London. So they've got the company.
If there's only 5 to be, that means you own 60% of them.
Well, I will do. I will do by then. But I do in the UK. They're across the. They've literally just reached America, so that's being sold out there. So now there's a lot more knowledge going to be coming out from people talking about it. It's just gone to Australia. It's in places like Sixth Sense, which is it's a high end resort in Ibiza, and they have a longevity centre that's just gone there.
I've been to one in Sixth Sense in Thailand.
Yeah, and so they've got it in the Ibiza one. They've got it in Shah as well, the Shah Wellness, which is again.
We're meant to be going there next year for Hazel's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh right.
And they've also
should come back, you won't recognise it.
But they've also got one for Hope for Cancer as well in Mexico. They use that in their protocols as well. So it's a clinic that looks holistically at cancer treatment. So
your business that you've started with your 2 machines is up and running now?
Yeah, so it's just one at the moment.
Yeah.
One at the moment.
And where is it?
It's in Harpenden, Central Harpenden. So it is, and the business is called Regenify Health, because what the plan is, now that I'm qualified, is that the bed helps people. So people are in pain, or they've got inflammation, or they're just very tired, or their mood is low. For a lot of people, that is just too much to deal with, and then to make dietary and lifestyle changes is just too much. So actually what the the plan with the bed is that people come in, they start to feel a bit more energised, they feel less pain.
Are you booked up? Are you fully booked?
And not yet, but people haven't quite. It's getting there. Some days I am.
Charlotte's been.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlotte's been.
Yeah, I've got her Mother's Day. 2 sessions.
Well, I'm thinking get something for Hazel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's as many men as women. So yesterday I had 4 appointments back to back, all men. Yeah. So it's not a male-female thing. Everyone benefits. It doesn't matter, or age.
So your current business model is what, 6 days a week, 7 days a week?
Yeah, I'm quite at the most 6 days. I'm quite flexible though because it is in our home. So it's in our home. So and because I like people and I want to help people. So if there's someone who really needs to come in 2 or 3 times in that week, I will facilitate that.
So what would determine, in your opinion, the sort of frequency that would work, or is it?
It depends. If you've come in with something like inflammation, so you've got a bad knee or a bad shoulder, you really want to get a session of 5 or 6, and you want to have at least 2 a week for 2 weeks, and then see where you are after that, because you want to hit it quite hard because it's cumulative in its effect. Coming in for 1 is great. People do encourage it because more people know about it, more people can talk about it.
Yeah.
And people do get results. We had one example with a lady who both of her hands were like this just before they started. And by the end of one session...
The Thatcher thing with the tendons.
Yeah, she literally couldn't move them. She was like that. By the end of one session, she
Trudy
closed her hands.
was like that as well.
Really?
Yeah,
it's quite common.
Yeah, but she literally could close her hands after one. Again, she was somebody who was coming along to try it.
Yeah. Because the conventional has always been to snip the tendons and re-engineer them, and all that happens is it just closes quicker next time. It gets worse and worse.
Yeah. Arthritis, it's very quick. Because it's inflammation, we can't guarantee it works with your body's natural healing system. So, your body might have something else going on that you might not have any symptoms of. So you can't always guarantee it. But there are plates that we use. There's 4 plates. So if there's something specific, we can guide the electrons to that area. So it helps with that. Then again, for people like sports, so people get PBs when they use it because they've got faster blood flow, they've got more energy, they've got more oxygen.
And again, being very nosy here, but unapologetically so, it's like, how many sessions can you as a business provide in a week, say? We
could provide in a week about 45. Something like that.
And is it expensive? Is it top end? Is it high performance driven? Is it NHS? Can somebody prescribed it?
No. Well, because it's not approved by the NICE at the moment, because it is quite new, so they're not, and because it's wellness and it's not medical.
To control our drug supply.
Yeah. So they haven't approved it. So NHS wouldn't work with it at the moment. That will hopefully change over time, like HBOT has.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at the stage where HBOT was 5 years ago. Okay. And you look at how common that is now and how much that's used. So we are at that early stage. So we're being quite brave and quite, we are being brave to actually go with it, get a second one, because we know and we see it with clients, the benefits. I say I can't guarantee when you come on what you're going to receive from it. But everyone's different.
Have you had a go? You haven't had
No,
Charlotte's had a go.
Charlotte.
What did she say?
She enjoyed it.
Well, but it's like
lying
down, isn't
kids,
it?
If
you're used to looking after
that as well.
but if you're looking after 2 kids, lying down is probably quite a well-run break.
But it's also for longevity, because you've got to think it's recharging your cells. So it's recharging and regenerating your cells. So your damaged cells are getting regenerated. So I looked at this more as a longevity tool. So it's not just people come often to fix something, but I can't guarantee that.
Well, to me, it sounds more like a lifestyle alternate, right? Rather than because currently my wife is a little bit, not obsessed is the wrong word, rightly concerned about things like cholesterol and ageing and what have you. But something like this, as a once a week, twice a week?
Yeah, if you're doing something like that once a week, we've just had a client, as I say, he's just had his 6th session, and he was doing it for his knee and for energy. Well, his knee is fine, he has a manual job. His knee is now not hurting. By the last time, I didn't even have to place the pads on his knee. And he's got much more energy, whereas before he was exhausted when he got home. And then he's so happy. He literally says, I know my mood. So, but it's getting people to realise, for them to value their health span as much as their lifespan.
Well, we do. We know exactly the price of our health.
Yeah.
Because if we're down for a day, we know exactly what that costs us.
Yeah.
And if, you take a year off your life, what price do you put on that?
Absolutely. So
what would it cost for, say, 6 months? If you wanted to do it once a week, for the next
that's
6
26
months.
weeks. Oh, that's probably about, don't hold me to this, probably about $4,000, something like that.
So it's like £150 pop.
Yes, basically 150 exactly. Once you book so many, yeah. I mean, that's where we are. That's where we are at the moment. Those prices will go up because we're just starting. We're trying to get people to use it.
Of course.
Those are not the prices that other places use. And
what is the most established market where it sort of stemmed out of, and where it has most commonly been accepted?
It would be
Germany, or
Germany. They use it by, and there's quite a few doctors I think who use
Holland?
it over there. Not so much Holland, I don't believe, but Greece is there. As the chap in Greece has been using it.
In Athens?
Near Athens, yeah.
Oh, I'll get Jodie on it in Athens.
Yeah. I can. They're great. I went over there and they did some great training. He's a physio and has been using it. Oh, it must be nearly.
And
nearly 3
is that
years.
just one person you're aware of, or it might be more widespread?
I think there's a couple more. At the moment, they don't make that many, and they're not looking to flood a market. They don't want.
Well, there's no upside to that for them.
No. Absolutely not.
Not until general acceptance. Then you just give the government £1 billion contract.
Yeah.
And everyone's done.
Yeah, there is literally. So they are. So in the.
It's phenomenal potential here.
Yeah.
If you just think in terms of what they're trying to do to address the health of the nation compared to what they could do.
The other thing that's really interesting with it, which I haven't got into yet, but might be part of this next stage, is that. I don't know how familiar you are with IVs and NAD particularly. NAD is another compound that you need in every single one of your cells, an enzyme. So NAD IVs are very common for people who are looking for more energy, looking for just cellular health, sports performance. When you have an IV of NAD, most people get a feeling of nausea, potentially even. They are actually ill with it, or they get headaches.
Sounds like some kind of cancer.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots. I don't know what they use it. I'm not an expert in it, so I won't talk about it too much in that respect. But what they're finding is when you use it on the bed, it increases its efficacy, speed, and there's no side effects. And they're not finding the side effects. Now, IVs as well for sports players. Again, this is not an area I'm an expert in at all at the moment, but I believe from speaking to someone, they're allowed 99 mils of IV before an event, as long as it's an allowed substance. I mean, again, I don't know much about that. But again, if you combined it with the bed, it goes in quicker and the efficacy is better. Okay. So it's another area that's untapped at the moment. There's a longevity centre in Vienna, actually, who are doing great jobs with NAD.
But you spend a lot of time on the research side of things. You enjoy it. Right?
Yes, yeah. No, I do. My menopausal brain has probably lets me down in terms of my remembering everything. That's my issue. Okay. So I can't, when I was younger, I could remember everything. If it's a number, I can remember it. Yeah. If it's a name of something, I struggle a bit more. But and I just love, I genuinely love helping people, which is why I've gone into this. It's not... for me, that's why we put ourselves out. Yeah. And actually, I'll tell you very quickly about my partner. So my partner had a knee replacement in November 21. He's got inherently bad knees, has got a job that basically means his knees are affected even more.
Is he like sort of more manual work?
Or? Yeah, more. He's a very good painter and decorator. And
it's like Uncle Steve.
So his knees are very bad. He's had to have one replaced and he's due to have the other. Unfortunately, the replacement, they have technically put it in wrong, but also he had inflammation for 2.5 years. So he ended up with a blue badge, walking downstairs backwards, not able to ride a bike. His knee was very swollen. He used it a couple of times in London. Second time he noticed some energy, but not much else. So then he hit it hard when we got it to our home, 4 days, morning and night. Suddenly the swelling was down. We didn't take enough photos. We took one with a tape measure. Yeah. We just didn't take enough photos. We had no idea how quickly it would come down. And the reason we knew it really brought home to us was my daughter heard Richie walking down the stairs, but didn't know if it was me or him, because normally you would have been able to tell the difference.
Clunk.
Yeah. And so he's now back on a bike, now going to the Alps. And the plan is that Richie will come into the business. He certainly can remember his facts, not like me. And he will come into the business. So as we expand it, then he will be in there as well.
Right. Nice. So you're right at the startup stage.
Yeah.
So what are the the growth plans, or what do you think the next 18 months?
The next 18 months, we will definitely have another one, and it will be in a collaboration with somebody else who is in this space, but not in Harpenden, just outside. Okay. Not in Harpenden. There's no point being in Harpenden.
No point.
So you would have a second physical site?
Yes, and we would stay wherever we go as a collaboration. We will always stay as Regenify Health.
Okay.
We will keep our brand and our name.
How about like Bannatyne, something like that?
Yeah, potentially. Potentially you could go in somewhere like that.
I'm being very selfish here because we've got one where I live. So Hazel wouldn't have to far to walk and she could still walk the dogs.
But it's they've got to have that, and the clientele who are going to be able to actually would use it and pay for it. But people who are more into the longevity world, people who are more into sort of biohacking, health optimization, those are the people at the moment. Having said that, most of my clients
like St Albans, Hitchin, these sort of centres?
Yeah. St Albans probably a bit too close, but Hitchin might be. But certainly there's somewhere around that I'd be looking at.
Have you given consideration yet to the next site or the third site?
No. It's likely to be announced in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Oh, right. So that's
it's that stage.
Okay.
You're not allowed to say?
No. But
secrecy.
No, I can't. But then I don't mind giving you the first scoop of it when I do. But But no, but it's close. So we're just at the moment discussing.
But by close, you mean in time, not where we're sat.
Yeah, it's about 95% certain that we're doing it. So that they've got a couple of things to sort out their end, which is why I have to be very careful.
Yeah, no, of course.
Is it your intent to sort of? I mean, like we did in the past, where you'd start in a region, you'd become like Q, the best known sports accountant in North Home Counties.
Yes.
And then you spread, and then you might even start to go, say, a Manchester or an Edinburgh or
another city potentially, because it's nice. I feel that this next collaboration will give credibility to Harpenden, because then actually they'll see it somewhere else in this other place. I think actually there's an element at the moment of people don't know what it is, and there's so few at the moment people, and they can't.
But you have your next collaboration partner?
Yes. Yeah. And then after that, we will see whether we get other ones or whether we collaborate again. So there's that benefit, and so and it's quite good. We keep the bed. The bed is ours. Regenify Health is our brand, and then we work on the sort of... Are
you thinking more... I mean, it's not a franchise, but are you thinking more in terms of joint ventures and another person, or are you thinking, if I had 50 million, I'd be tempted to do the whole UK domination myself?
Yes, if I did. But I'm not sure I want to take that on. There's a balance between... I've been in that situation.
No, I know. As a global group finance director, in and out, IPO listing,
so
MBO.
I would do some, but at the moment we need that. Ideally, we need some things to actually happen, so that actually give it, so people are coming through the door more.
Hence the slow burn rather than the bang, bang, bang.
Yes.
I was going to ask, it's very different, owning your own business, the route you're doing at the minute. Challenges, what are you enjoying? What are the challenges?
What I enjoy is I love having complete control over what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I like helping people. So tonight I'm going to a charity. I think I said to you, we've given 5 sessions to a charity called Just to Life, a brilliant charity working with holistic treatments for cancer. So they, alongside everything else that they're doing, they get the option. So we've given that. So I'm going there tonight, and I get to talk in front of 250 people about the bed. So I can do that. I don't have to ask anyone. I can just make those decisions. Yeah. So I love that. Actually, there's not much I don't love about it. I think I'm probably perhaps in a different position to other people, that I'm not so worried about it having to pay all the bills. So I'm in a much more comfortable, relaxed position. So for other people, it's a difficult market out there. I know for lots of different people in nutritional therapy or all different sort of therapies, it's not the easiest market for people. So I think if I was in a slightly different position, I'd be more worried. At the moment, I've got no overheads. It's in my own home. My overheads are minimal. It's me managing it. I love doing it. The excitement we get when we have a new client, we're always a bit, nervous and excited when they've gone it to see what they think. Is
your repeat rate 100%? Is your repeat rate 100%?
Not 100% because of money. If the money wasn't an issue, I think everyone would come back. Because we have a special offer so people can come in for once, because I want everyone to try it, even if they can't. I don't hard sell. We know that a package of 5 or 10 is what people should really go. The magic often happens after 5, but people can't always afford that.
One of your phrases, the magic.
That's right.
Yeah, but it really is. And I had someone with plantar fasciitis, which is a foot issue, and she was a friend of mine. But I said, look, trust me, it will work, but you've just got to put some belief. And there was nothing after 3. She hadn't really felt any benefits, but by the end of 6, the pain had gone. And
that's very common, though.
Yes. But it's people believing, people, and I love sceptical people. We do get quite a few sceptical people who come in even though they're really not convinced it will work. And I had one, and she keeps coming back, even though she's very sceptical, and but she keeps getting the benefits, so she keeps coming back. And then at the moment, most of my clients are not biohackers or health optimization people. They're just tradesmen, regular people who've decided to give it a go because it's so relaxing anyway.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You've used that a few times, biohacker.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's people who are just trying to use either lifestyle or supplements or technology to sort of improve their health and hack.
Rather than looking at it holistically.
And rather than looking at any medicines or anything else like that. So they would keep away from that. They would choose not to do that. Not saying they wouldn't if they were very poorly, but they wouldn't choose to take them routinely.
Have you seen any benefits or used this in relation to sort of cardio matters?
I haven't, because I have other issues where I can't do cardio at the moment, which is very frustrating and the bed can't fix.
Oh, right.
I wish it could. But certainly for my partner, who's now back on his bike and is going to the Alps soon, he basically, he can feel it when he goes back out. He's getting stronger and stronger, and then we'll literally go on the bed. And then somebody else we know from Fit 20 locally.
Oh, yes.
He will use the bed, and then he will go and use his Fit 20, his different...
he's a big fan.
Yeah. And he gets PBs.
So you suspect that's more to do with oxygen, enhanced oxygen flow? Or?
Oxygen flow, blood flow, and also because it enhances your ATP, because it's providing you an electron, because when you make ATP, you use electrons in your electron transport chain. So this is providing electrons. So it's providing extra electrons for your body to utilise. So people everyone feels different.
It's not corrective then in that sense. It's just improvement.
It's not corrective in terms of...
I was just thinking if you've got like arteries that are 50% blocked up.
No, and don't forget, it's not a cure. It's a wellness device.
Yeah.
So it's not going to work on the arteries. It might bring down inflammation in the arteries if there's inflammation.
But it wouldn't strip away.
No, it's not, and it's not medical. That's what we have to be really clear with people who come and use it. We do get people come to use it with some sort of fairly serious illnesses, but it's more to help support their symptoms they might be getting from other things. But it's not for them. It's not a cure. It's not.
And you've been running the bed for how long?
Only since, as a company, only since September, and really properly only for a couple of months because I only finished my degree in March. And so I've been trying to really juggle everything, and I've got quite a son who's had to have a couple of serious operations in the last few months. So I've been sort of balancing everything.
Is he okay?
He is okay. He's got a rare ear condition. And his last operation last weekend was 6 hours.
Yeah, you were saying.
Brutal operation. But actually, he goes on the bed, and he might moan about going on the bed, but he's very happy despite the fact he has had significant... I mean, they have to cut you with these operations from here to here. Literally.
Well, there's bones, there's all sorts going on.
Yeah. So bless him. But no, so there's been a lot going on. So... But we've, in the last couple of months, which is how we've met through BNI.
BNI, networking, yeah.
So networking has been fantastic for us, in particular BNI.
Yeah.
I love BNI because it's got structure, which I enjoy. Kind of takes me back. Yeah, accountability, numbers. That's right. All of those things that I really, I also love. So BNI has really worked because you have groups, different groups called chapters, and in our chapter, most people have come and tried it now. Are you
in Chariots then?
Yes, I'm in Chariots. So yes, yeah. So it's working, but we do other networking as well. So we are constantly out there because for us it's a word of mouth business because no matter what we do, I mean our Instagram is great, so if you're interested look at the Instagram because it gives videos of people as they come off the bed.
The app?
It's at Regenify Health.
There we go.
So
all one word, no spaces, no hyphens.
No word, no spaces, nothing. And then you'll see people who literally, it's not scripted at all, and they literally get off and they just tell me what they thought.
Have you got like a favourite, best outcome or reaction or something which you truly didn't expect that you would say, I can't believe that just happened?
Well, there was one person, she's about to come back to do a course. She's only done one at the moment, but she literally starts next week on a course. But from her first one, she took off all her rings because, she just took them off. You don't always have to take your rings off, but she did. And she'd got inflammation in her feet as well. So, but not particularly hands, she just took the rings off because she took the rings off. When she did me, there's a review from her, but it doesn't mention this, because when she got off the bed and started to put her rings back on, she literally went, oh my God, all my rings just literally are turning around on my fingers.
Because of the inflammation.
Because the inflammation has gone down. And then when she put her shoes on, her feet had gone down. And that was just so...
And you hadn't heated her rings up in the meantime?
No, I hadn't done that.
From one session?
From one session. No, that won't last because it's cumulative. But it's really good when people get, because they can see already that it's responding. But then other people might not have anything for 3.
Is there any evidence of fall off?
No, well, it's...
Yes. Then the body almost semi-adjusts and no.
No, it wouldn't do that. It will still improve, because it might not improve on the inflammation, but it will improve.
It will still be banging the electrons around.
Yes, and it will be going to your energy, or it might be going to your mood, or your skin, or your so many other things that it could be, or your nails. It could be working on so many different things.
Have you got a website where you can book?
Yes, which is www.regenifyhealth.co.uk. So
you can book right there.
You can book in there. And so the first session is always 30 minutes. And then after, when you book your package, as long as you're on time for your appointment, you can have 40 minutes, because we sell 30 minutes, but I want my clients to get the best they can out of it. So
there's no, you can't have more. If you have more than 2 hours, something happens bad, or... It's like you can have as many as you want.
Oh yeah, I mean, we use it.
You do 30 because it's just a sensible.
Yes, it's a sensible. The first one, the 30, is one because we have to explain it. We want to explain it. There are a couple of contraindications, which are things like inbuilt hearing aids, pacemaker, epilepsy, pregnancy, and 150 kilos is pretty much our limit, just because of the cushions and the jets. So we have there's a process that goes through, and you have the form to fill in, and we also then will do a form on symptoms, as in not so much sleep, energy. So it's not medical, so we can't ask about those, and we don't, but we'll ask just general. So if you're on a package, we can look at the first one, and then when you finish, we can go, well, this is where you were at the first one, and this is where you are now. And actually, because people forget what their pain level was, because you do.
Well, the mind encourages you to forget bad and to focus on good, doesn't it, generally?
So by the end of it, unless you've got some kind of record, and we had someone who
you need those data points.
He did. He'd just done a marathon in Peru, or sort of these ultra marathons in Peru, so high altitude, jungle, and this was right at the beginning. So we just offered this chap 3 sessions, just come in and say. And the last time we know that he took weeks and weeks to recover from it. He told us that before we went on this one. Well, by the end of the 3rd one, he was talking about doing his next half marathon within about another week. But he didn't really see the value. It was interesting. He didn't really see the value of the bed, because he wasn't relating it back to the first time, when we know that he hadn't been able to do anything. Literally the first time he came, I wonder if I see this, but literally the first time he came, he was all vacant. I mean, he was exhausted. He was absolutely exhausted from this. And I did laugh with my daughter actually going, if I didn't know who he was, I'd actually be quite scared of this man that's laying in our...
That's the forensic accountant he wants to
But so it's interesting so that people don't always see. And actually it's better for us, anyone who's had a longer term injury in some respects, if the bed is going to help, we can't guarantee it, but if the bed is going to help, they know they've been in pain for a long time. Whereas if you've got a new injury, they don't necessarily know how it's going to heal.
It was going to happen anyway.
Yeah. So they don't necessarily see that.
Once you've had 6 months, it's not going anywhere. Yeah.
So those are the ones, and those are the ones. So we get great results with shoulders, knees, feet,
upper arms. Yeah.
I mean, we can put the plates there, and we can do. We can focus the attention there. We generally do feet and hands for the first one, just as an all body boost. And then we tend to go into specific areas. But if someone's come in specifically and said, well, I really need you to focus on this, then we'll do that. So, but every day is different with it. But BNI has been fantastic for it.
Very good. So we get up the second site, which is a secret still.
Yes. Sorry, I'm not going to tell you.
And then we get 5 years. Or do you think it is a lifestyle in the sense that you want to help people?
Yes.
Rather than a lifestyle that, as long as it pays the bills, because you've already said that's not the case.
Yeah, no, it's for me, it's for helping
It's almost
people.
like a mission.
Yeah, because nutritional therapy is what I'm trained to do, but it's quite hard work for every client. If you came in and said, and you sent me a form, I'd spend 5 or 6 hours researching you. And then I get 1 hour with you, and all you see is a 1 hour.
Yeah.
And you might have only really basic things to begin with, because most people need to sort the basics out.
You're not going to be able to charge for the full day, are you?
You're not be able to. And actually, but then it's down to them to make the changes. Whereas actually, if they come and use the bed, they just lay there.
Yeah.
And I can't guarantee it, but your body's definitely going to get something out of it. I think there's about 5% of people who feel nothing. I still think that those 5% will be working on something they have no idea is going on, but they might not notice it, straight away. But most people, you can literally, and some of them you'll see, if you look at the videos from people, you can literally see their face glowing. You literally just see them light up because they've used the bed. I mean, and I love it. I get a real kick out of actually doing that. And
how many people do you think around the world are using this process? If you had to guess, would it be as many as 1,000?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Because there's another one. The one in the fourth one in the UK is in Cobham, and they've only just started up, but they were in a business already had a client base, so a lot of their clients were already using it.
Okay.
So it wasn't so much of a hard sell. Those people were already in longevity, already thinking about their health span, not their lifespan. So those people. I'm thinking
in terms of if you've got a significant population of users, then you might be able to demonstrate statistically that there is as well as today, there's a longevity effect.
Yes, over time, and I think that will come over time.
Is it still? It's the one manufacturer.
Yes, and it's all handmade.
So
and they are slick. When they delivered to me, they forgot to put a sticker on the side. It was a Friday of a bank holiday weekend. On the Tuesday, they flew someone out to put the sticker on that they'd forgotten. And there was a slight mark on one of the cushions. They also bought a replacement cushion. I didn't ask for one. They checked it. They are fantastic manufacturers and real pride in what they do.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So you would like it to develop.
Yes,
for you.
I think we will. If this works, we'll give this one another year probably.
So,
check.
As a successful businesswoman, you would still want it to make a profit. You don't.
Yes.
You don't have any hang-ups about making money.
No, I have no problems about making money. Because I need to pay the beds off, and then it'll enable me to buy more beds and help more people. So
and the bed life. Does it have a usable life, or is it?
No, we're expecting it to be a good 10 years,
10 plus?
20 years. I mean, they've been around for about 5 or 6 years.
Right, and they're all still working.
Yeah, and if you look at, there's not, from what we can see, there's not much that will go wrong. And you just take care of it, make sure no water near it. We're quite careful. We've got some. When you book, there's some, things that people have to do, like not come with a spray tan on. So I don't want to, nice white bed. But things like that. We're particular. We really want clients to have a nice experience, no matter what they get from it. Whether they want them to enjoy the experience, we want them to have nice music. There's lights on the ceiling. It's dark ceiling, and if nothing else, it's an escape for 40 minutes, and they can sleep and just escape. The phones are off. I insist on their phones being off. They can't have them anywhere near them. And they just listen to relaxing music.
We were talking at the weekend. I was saying to Zoe about, reflexology is the only thing that's ever really got close to that for me. So it sounds like this could be the one.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Any final thoughts or last sort of questions? What do you reckon?
All right, finish up.
Yeah, the lady's, a qualified business leader, so she knows all the grants and the kickbacks.
You say that. I do actually need to have a meeting because I haven't actually come in and spoken to you, and I'm thinking, I do hope I'm doing this right the way I'm doing it. So I wouldn't mind a meeting, because the way I'm going to do this, I don't mind telling you off camera a bit more about what I'm doing.
Yeah. Because frequent questions that get asked is like, what watchers will have spotted. I asked you about whether this was uncertainty about the technology or whether or not it was proven technology, because depending on the answer to that question would determine how much the government will give you.
Okay.
And we've touched in previous sort of podcasts about research and development and government grants, which run parallels to the creative industries. and you need to build a technical narrative. You need to have they've really, due to COVID and a lot of people fraudulently taking money from the government, they've really cracked down. So it's a far more robust process now. But for something truly, transformative, new, innovative, different, if only in a new marketplace or if only in a new geographic location, there's still enough words to enable significant cash to come back.
Yeah. Well, I would be interested. I mean, I would be interested in that because it enables me to do more. And I was actually thinking I really need to come in because of how I'm doing it. I'm merrily going along. But my accountancy knowledge is 20 years out of date now, So I need to actually check that I am, there's not a better way.
Well, it changes every day, by the way.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I mean, we came across something yesterday which neither of us had come across.
Yeah.
And so we've put a note out to all our clients so that, don't panic. This is real. This is not a scam. You have to do this. You don't have to do this. So every day we say, don't we? Every day is school day. Every day is school day.
Yeah.
But some of the basics have been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like the ability to take capital back.
This technology and the grants that are out there to roll this out.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, I
like the slow burn approach though.
No, I like that.
It's almost Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come, and eventually. The health minister will stop injecting people with slimming drugs and actually maybe give them. Yeah.
Well, do you know who Dr. Haseem Malhotra is, who wrote the book called Statin Free Life?
Well, that's where I'm coming from with regards to my wife.
He's very supportive of the bed.
I nearly said a bad word there. Scared of statins.
Yes.
Because she goes along to the doctor with one issue, and literally there and then, would you like a carrier bag full of statins? And she's going, hang on a sec, is there nothing alternative? And then when you're looking at cardio, you've got genetics which you can't really help, but you've got smoking and alcohol and diet and things you can change. But then they're going, I'll just take some drugs, and you're going, wait. Yeah. So read a book by Dr. Haseem Malhotra, who's actually come out and on the Haseem Aeseem Malhotra. I'll tell you afterwards. But does that ring a bell?
That's for some reason.
Rings a bell with Rosemary.
Yeah,
he's incredible. He's actually helping in America on the Make America Healthy Again. He's actually going over there and helping out.
That's the name she's thrown into the mix before.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's just come out and spoke because he uses the bed once or twice a week when he's in the UK, not in mine, but in London, and he's very supportive of the bed.
Well, definitely should have another session, as you say, and delve a bit more into the specifics.
Well, and when we've been on the bed.
Yeah. Well, obviously, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we're not looking for discounts, just block bookings. In fact, the space here, you probably noticed.
But you know what? I looked in here and thought, you could just buy them. No, you could just buy one, put it in here.
Well, off camera, we'll tell you about the plans for a golf zone and other things. What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, if you've got a machine that costs 120 grand or 240 grand and net of government assistance, it only costs you 120 or 160. That's a lot of help.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's genuine. We genuinely are going out there.
Are your treatments VAT registered?
Yes, we have to be. Well, we had to be to get the VAT back on because obviously it was coming over from Germany.
Well, I wondered if it's you could be deemed to be like exempt or zero.
Yeah,
medical.
Because I have to be to get the VAT back from the purchase.
Yeah,
because it was about 20
cents. You have to be VAT registered, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to give
charge
that away.
It. Okay.
No, because you can still be zero rated.
Okay.
So you can be VAT registered,
but zero rated supplies.
And at the moment, the government chooses to put 0% on your sales.
Yeah.
The danger with that, of course, with anything that's zero rated means tomorrow it's 10.
Yeah.
The day after, when rates.
But then it's over. So at the moment, everything is 20 that I'm doing. So I did actually ask my former accountants, and they confirmed. They said, but I wouldn't mind looking into that.
We will do something this afternoon. And get confirmation that. Because there's a lot of exemptions and there's a lot of zero-rated supplies.
Because it would be amazing for me.
And there's a lot of businesses that make 5 different types of supplies, all of which have different treatments.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth.
Yeah, I remember in my old stockbroking days, your corporate finance had your VAT, but your commission was exempt. So.
Interest always exempt because it suits the big banks.
Yeah.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, funny.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.